legend, massive thanks for stopping by to click on this video, and chances are that you're here checking it out because you want some help around how to navigate the whole aspect that is tracking food choices when you eat at like fast food joints, restaurants, burger joints, dessert joints, that sort of thing. So what I'm going to be doing in this video is giving you some real-time tips, and I'm going to be tracking directly from my own phone screen to show you exactly how I would go about tracking some of the most trending sort of things. We're talking like thick cookies, burger joints, stuff like that. So strap yourself in, follow along closely, and if you're new to the channel, make sure that you subscribe and check out my other videos, heaps of how-to stuff and all sorts of insights in terms of my whole fuck dieting message. And if you're a returning subscriber, I hope this video is of value for you and that it helps you in your tracking journey. But rest assured that as a heads up, just as like a personal tip, if you are someone that is basically trying to be as accurate as possible when it comes to nailing your deficit, it's probably a good idea that you don't eat out too often. So in other words, the way that you will be most accurate is when you eat stuff that's mostly made by yourself or comes with a barcode or whatever, so you know with more accuracy how much you're actually taking in terms of calories wise. But if you're someone that isn't competing and is fairly chilled about your deficit, or even you're eating at maintenance and whatnot, and you just want to have a better idea as to how much calories are in some of the stuff that you're eating when eating out, in that case then, we are all good, fam. So strap yourself in and let's get stuck in with the video. Alright fam, let's go. So I'm going to fire up some screen recording so that way you guys can see my MyFitnessPal. So here we are. Haven't actually used the app in a while because your boy has been in a non-tracking phase for some time now, about a year and a half, give or take. So me, I'm not using premium anymore. I was using premium for a while. I accept, yeah, cool. So, it's actually pretty cool with what's happening on MFP, a few little cool things going on. Anyway, so we're gonna look at first image on the screen here is a big ass loaded burger. This here is basically a combo sort of one in terms of like beef patty, double chicken patty, chips and stuff like that. So here is how I would break down tracking something like this, fam. So you'll see here that it's got shoestring fries, right? So whenever you're eating shoestring fries, right, that's where if I was you, probably track it from McDonald's. So typically whenever you get fries, it will come as like shoestring or thick cut. So if your meal comes with thick cut, if I were you, probably track it as a KFC or a Hungry Jack's fries, and depending on the size of it, yeah, that will determine whether you're tracking it as like a large or a regular. In this case, that's a pretty decent amount of fries. So we're gonna track it as a large fries, which is about 450 calories. So quite a lot, but hey, at the end of the day, it's pleasure, right? In terms of fries, they're not really good from a nutrition point of view, but they're good from a pleasure point of view. So we've got some large chips. Now when something's like a stacked one like this, what I prefer to do is if it's got more chicken than beef or more beef than chicken, we'll determine what fast food franchise equivalent I'll track it as. So in this case, this one's got more chicken than beef. So what I would actually do is track it as a tower burger from KFC, right? So this one, original tower burger, we'll track it as that. And then what we'll do is, because it's got beef and stuff like that, what I would actually do is, because it's got a beef patty and a bit of bacon and whatnot, I would probably add also probably a cheeseburger from McDonald's. So we'll add a single one of those. Okay, so you'll see there a burger like this, and then we've also got barbecue sauce and pickles and whatnot. So that will basically be catered for when we've got our tower burger in there. But because the burger is a bit bigger, I'd probably say that what we'll do is, you'll see here, rather than entering the entry as 1, we'll enter it as 1.1 for each. So that way it's adding a little bit of a buffer, which is always a good idea when it comes to tracking things on MyFitnessPal. That way it's catering for like oil used and whatnot. So you'll see here, this feed here, probably about 1550 calories, fairly on point. It's got bacon, it's got a beef patty, it's got double chicken. Yeah, so about that, okay? So what we'll do now is we'll get rid of this one And obviously if you have any questions around this, fam, light up the comments section, let us know. But basically I'm just showing you how I would personally track these sort of things. Next up, what we're going to do is we're going to look at some cookies. So at the moment there's a big trending thing happening in Australia. I don't know if it's happening in your part of the world, let us know if it is, in terms of like thick cookies. So how I go about tracking any of these is if you look at, say for example, Woolworths, right? They do these really thick cookies. Typically the thick cookies, let's look at them here, will go Coles, chocolate, yeah, there you go, Coles chocolate cookie, let's try that. Alright, so this one here, so what you'll be looking for, right, is you'll be looking for one that's like triple chocolate or double choc, white choc macadamia, based on the type of cookie that you got at the cookie store. So in this one, as you can see, this one's like a birthday cake, a choc chip one with Nutella, another normal choc chip one, and then some Nutella Bueno one. So because these are quite thick, I would actually track for any time you have one of these cookies, right, in terms of from the store, track it as 2 double ones from the shops. So you're gonna average probably about 500 to 600 calories, depending on how thick it is and how big it is, because some of them are just getting ridiculous now. But yeah, I'd probably say to ballpark for about 500 or 600, all right? So next example we got on the screen, you'll see here is another stacked burger. So this one here is basically one that has lots of beef, so there's no chicken. And it's got cheese and some sauce and stuff like that. So whenever something is like this, in terms of like a decent amount of beef, whether it be like 2 patties or 3 small ones or whatever, what I will typically do, fam, is I will track it as an ultimate double whopper from Hungry Jack's, and then I will usually enter it as 1.1. That's what I will do when a burger is mostly beef oriented with a bit of cheese, and then of course if you're customizing it with like a shitload of patties or whatever, adjust accordingly. But in this sort of case, you'll see here, Ultimate Double Whopper, 1300 calories. An Ultimate Double Whopper will have 2 huge patties, it will have cheese, it will have some bacon, it will have some salad and sauce and pickles and whatever. So in this sort of case with this burger, you'll see it's got, yeah, some smashed beef, it's got a bit of onion, it's got a bit of cheese and some sauce. So yeah, enter it as probably about 1.1 of Ultimate Double Whopper, and you should be pretty safe and sound. Now next example is a bit of a custom burger that I got from this joint called Charlie's in Currumbine in Perth, Western Australia. So this one here, you'll see it's got 2 beef patties, cheese, bacon, and well, it's one of those ones that has like a Krispy Kreme donut as the bun. So what we'll do here is we'll track it. So like this is where you can take the approach sometimes when you're eating out, where you basically track the individual components, okay? So what we're gonna do in this one is, of course, because it's got 2 original crispy glaze, we're gonna track that, and then that's 400 calories right there. And then what we're gonna do is we're going to, like I'll show you the manual way of how you can track things. So what we'll do is we'll put here cheese, so Coles, 2 slices, let's enter that as, because it's got quite a lot of cheese, we'll enter that as 3, there you go. And then what we'll do then is we will add the smashed beef patties. So what we'll do is let's put here, grass-fed beef patty. So whenever you go to a burger joint, most of the time they are grass-fed, like really good quality beef. So here in this case, we'll add a couple of patties there because that's a double stack. Then it's got some bacon. So what we'll do is we'll manually add the bacon. I always like to do bacon from Coles or Woolworths. That way you're using, you know, like a proper company. So let's say that's probably about 2 streaks, so probably about, let's do 1.5, that should cover it. And then we've probably got a bit of sauce in there. Most joints use barbecue. So we'll do here barbecue sauce. I've always got Fountain. We'll do a couple of serves of that. And there you go, you'll see it's pretty much spot on. Like most decent sized burgers will be about 800 calories to 1500 depending on their size. So this one here you'll see comes in at 12,000, yeah, 1,266. So fairly spot on. And then you'll see there that with the fries, because they are thick cut, I would then, because it was probably, like it definitely wasn't a large, so what I'll do is I'll go KFC chips, a regular, we'll add that to it, and therefore that's the feed tracked with fairly decent accuracy. Alright, so we're about halfway through this video example so far. Strap yourself in for another 4 examples, and light up the comments if you've been valuing it so far, and let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, let's get stuck into part 2. So fam, welcome to part 2 of this video. So far we've tracked a couple of different burgers. We've tracked a individual based tracking burger where you enter the ingredients manually based on what you see. And then we've done a loaded cookie as well, which has been pretty cool. So I hope you've enjoyed these examples thus far. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on screen recording again. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get strapped into part 2 of this video. So first item we're going to be looking at is, let me just pull up MyfitnessPal again, now that we're screen recording, MyfitnessPal, there we go. What we're going to be doing here as we look at the next image, this here is from a gourmet pizza joint. So obviously whenever you go to gourmet pizza joints, or even to pizza joints in general that aren't like a proper franchise-based joint, what I always like to do is I always like to refer it to what I see on Domino's, because Domino's, they list the whole nutrition information on there, and then that way what you can do is based on size, you can enter and compare it to what you see on there. So as you'll see with this one here, from memory I recall the bottom pizza was like a Mongolian lamb type one, and the top one was some random meat lovers. So what we'll do here is we'll type in meat lovers and then Domino's, and then as you'll see there, one slice, I always like to go for the one that's the highest. So one slice, 169, 210, but that's the puff pastry. So as you can see with this one, it's fairly thin crust. Obviously if you got thick crust or deep dish or whatever, you'd adjust accordingly. But in this case, we're gonna go with the normal one. And as you can see there, 1, 2, 3, 4 slices. So we'll add that in there. So decent protein, lots of carbs, lots of fat, that's expected with pizza, a nice little spread of all macros. And then because we've got our Mongolian lamb one, so what I'll do here is I'll type in Mongolian lamb, Domino's, and we'll see what it's got there. So let's do lamb, pizza, Domino's. What do we got? Yeah, there you go, Barossa Shiraz Braised Lamb Pizza. So that's close enough for me. I'm more than happy with that. So in this case, 4 slices, $8.96. And you'll see there, 1500 calorie feed. I actually did eat all that, so fairly straightforward. And the reason why we're comparing to a franchise one is because that way, obviously just ease of tracking and knowing that it's gonna be fairly on point. And then obviously if you're overly concerned, what you could then do is you can maybe add like a 0.5 on there just to cover your bases. And then same deal with the other one as well, so that way you know you're covered. Because that's the idea, you always want to have a bit of a buffer when it comes to that. And then obviously that means that you know that you should be pretty on point in terms of catering for the way that it was cooked and whatever, compared to, so for example, manually trying to enter the ingredients for the pizza, which would just be ridiculous. Now, next one we're going to be looking at, this one here is from Get Chunky. If you're not familiar with Get Chunky, they're probably, well, I would say, one of the leading New York style cookie joints in Perth, Western Australia. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to go Coles chocolate cookie. And obviously, like you see here, I'm searching. If you ever go into the shops, there you go, ultimate double chocolate chip cookie. So that one there is actually pretty bang on. I can't remember how much a cookie weighs. I think it's about, yeah, so what we'll do is we'll put that there. So in this image, I know that they don't use 2 cookies. They've cut they've cut 1 cookie in half to be able to make a sandwich. So in this case, what I'll do is I'll enter it as that, the ultimate choc chip cookie. And then it's got a slab of vanilla ice cream. So what we'll do here is we'll type in vanilla ice cream, and then same deal, Coles or Woolworths, and we'll see what it comes up with. So we've got classic vanilla ice cream, that sounds good to me. Eyeballing from that picture, I'd probably say that's about 80 grams. So what we'll do is we'll put in 2 of this. And then you'll see that it's got like some choc chip mix. So what we'll do is we'll put in choc chip mix. and we'll see what it comes up with here. Choc chip cookie, choc chip, so choc chip granola, because it's got a pretzel and whatever. No, we sort of want more like a choc chip cookie mix. That could work. No, but that's a cookie. Nah. Let's go, maybe, let's just do choc chips and we'll fuck off the pretzel. So I'll put in here choc chips, Nestle. So that's probably about a tablespoon worth, but be aware we want to cater for the pretzel that's in there. So I'll probably put there maybe 2 tablespoons. And there we go. So, and obviously it's got the injectable thing, which I'm not sure what it is. I believe that was some sort of like white chocolate sauce or whatever. So what I'd probably do is just track that as Nutella, to be honest. And then that's probably about, 30 grams, so we'll keep that there. And as you can see, what we've done is we've entered the ingredients in manually, so that way we can roughly know what's in there with that one, because obviously something like that, like no one from a franchise joint does that, so you got nothing to compare it to really. But as you can see there, that's an example of entering ingredients manually. Now if I get rid of this, delete, no, and then delete that too. Awesome. Next one we're going to look at is whenever you get donuts. So as you can see here, this example is like you'll probably find in your donut journey that there's ones that are like this, where it's an actual circular donut and they've got some sick icing on top and then whatever little add-ons are on top of it, or you'll find that it's either going to be of the loaded variety where it's got filling and it's got a shitload of icing and whatnot. So what you can do here is, I always like to compare it to Krispy Kreme. So what we'll do here is we'll type in Krispy Kreme, and then obviously you'll see that it's got, there are different types going on. So if we were to track what's in this image, you'll see here we've got like a chocolate sprinkles one, so we'll add that. What I probably should have done is the multi-add one. So we'll do that next. Krispy Kreme, here we go. And we'll press the multi-add at the bottom. So let's see what we've got. We've got a glazed one in there. One of those looks like it's raspberry. We'll go with the strawberries and cream because that one's there. What else we got here? Hazelnut cream. So that would be an example of a donut, of like a loaded one. There's no way one of these sort of donuts that you'll see in the image is going to be that much calories. It's always going to be roughly about 250 to 300. And you'll see what I mean? You just add them in manually. And then if you were going to have one of the loaded ones, that's where you can compare it to one of the higher ones, which would be about 400, 500 calories per loaded one, give or take. So donuts are pretty easy to track, to be honest, or if you're slightly concerned, just track it as like 1.1. Another example I'm going to give you here is of loaded fries. They seem to be picking up in popularity. So based on the type of chips that you see, in terms of whether it's thin cut or thick cut, so in this case it's thick cut, so let's use our old mate KFC chips, except in this case it's a large, it's not a large, it's not a regular, so we'll probably do it as like a 1.5 of regular chips. And as you can see there, I believe from memory that was like some brisket. So what I'll do here is I'll type in brisket. Now, brisket sandwich, no. Brisket one slice, no. Brisket smokehouse brisket, yeah. So Arby's I know is an American joint. In Australia we don't have any to go. Let's go off of. So you always want to go for one that ideally allows you to track it in grams. So that there's pretty good. I know that in loaded fries and stuff, they don't typically give you much brisket because brisket is quite expensive and time consuming to make. So this actually will be quite accurate, but because it's got a bit of sauce and stuff, I'm going to track it as 1.2. I don't personally bother tracking things like the parsley on top, the chives, the spring onions and whatever. I don't really track that. And then because it's got like some sort of mayonnaise aioli going on, I'll just track it as aioli, and then we'll use the one from Coles. So we'll type in aioli, Coles, and as you can see there, it allows me to track in grams, so I'll track it as 0.2. And then ta-da, that's how you would track loaded fries, fam. So with what you've learned from this video, you can apply the exact same when it comes to, say for example, going to like a restaurant and like getting a dish there, and you can try to compare it to something you've made yourself, or you can compare it to a franchise to like as best of a degree as you can. but the reason why I picked you know, like fast food type joints or whatever is because most people typically will opt for fast food or burger joints or joints like that as opposed to restaurants these days anyway, especially during COVID times or whatever. Hashtag support local. So if you found this video valuable, let us know. Give it a like and let me know in the comments, and share it to someone who you think could benefit from the tips I've shared. Because I know that, yeah, when you don't really have a grasp around how to track meals that haven't been made by you, it can be quite a bit of a daunting thing and something that causes a lot of confusion. Therefore, nah, fuck it. So hopefully this has been valuable for you. If I were you, whenever you're, like if you're in fat loss mode specifically, try to pre-track or pre-decide what you're gonna get, so that way you know roughly how many calories you're gonna need, and then that way you can adjust food choices outside of that to be able to not blow out for the day, whether that means fasting for a bit of the day or only eating some fruit and maybe like only protein source, so that way you get a lot of calories to play with. Either way, just be a bit proactive where you can. Yeah, if you need some help around the whole aspect that is tracking, there's a whole heap of videos in my channel. Go through and check them out. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. It'd be cool to have you hang around. And feel free to follow me on my social media. Below you'll see, by clicking on the link in the description, a whole heap of ways you can follow me and some of my work and what I do in terms of the anti-diet message. And if you want some sick apparel in terms of my various fuck dieting designs and whatnot, same deal, link in the description, fam. You know what to do. Either way, big love and thanks for just stopping by to click on this video. See you next time in the anti-diet TV world, fam. Peace.